Well, hello and welcome to Therapists in Conversation with Pauline Gamlin. Pauline is a life and mindset coach living in Taunton in Somerset. But as you can see on Zoom, she's also global now too. Now, the business is called First Choice Feelings. And that is an absolute stunner for me, Pauline, because it actually tells you that you have a choice as to how to feel about things.
This is it. And hopefully it does what it says on the tin. We all want those first choice, those first class, the best feelings. And that's what I hope to help people find.
Cool. And how long have you been doing this now?
Oh, I started only last October. Unfortunately, I used to be a carer in the community for the elderly, and I hurt my back, and so I was unable to carry on with the physical work that's involved, and it just it was something I always had in mind. It was on the back burner, but sort of the universe brought forward for me a little bit sooner. So yes, I started in the October, and of course we were all in lockdown. So yeah, I had a sort of swift learning curve because I wasn't particularly technical savvy. And yeah, so I'm online and can, reach a bigger audience, really. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's the transitional, we were talking about that word earlier, but the transitional aspect of how the universe does tend to make us change when we don't really expect that it's going to happen. These things that we have in the back burner, the universe just kind of sits there and goes, oh, you think so, do you? Well, this is actually going to be on the front burner quite shortly. Yeah. So hang on to yourself because it's going to be a bumpy ride. And of course, like you say, we have to get tech savvy now.
Yes.
But that's
everything is online these days. And yeah, it was a bit of a steep learning curve because computers weren't in school when I was there.
Well, no, computers weren't. It was chalk and slate when I was in school. When I first started, it was chalk and slate. It was great stuff. But you started to think about what it would be like to help people and to become a catalyst, I would suspect, for change, for allowing people to understand they have choices and that they can make choices.
Absolutely. Yes. Life, shall we say, threw me several curveballs. There were a few quite severe traumas that I lived through and survived, but it took me a lot to find my own way through it. And in 2019, I found this amazing program that totally changed my perspective on life. And it was through that I felt I want to tell people about this. This is amazing, and stop people having to go through the shit that I had to, make life so much less painful. And to really help them find their purpose and direction in life, and just really find those good feelings that are very often buried under, all the life's crisis that we have to deal with.
Let's dig a little bit into that. How would your particularly, let's say, for instance, perfect client, how would they be feeling and understanding how their life is going in order that they would seek you out?
Well, the thing is, we always wait until there's a huge crisis before we take action. Even if we're rock bottom on preparing our suicide, say, we have to take action one way or the other. But there's also that dangerous group of people, which, is a high percentage of the population, is, oh, I'm fine. I'll get through this. I'm okay. And we'd never do anything about it until there is that crisis. Whereas you can have all these tools to help you get through those crises even better. And so it doesn't have to be a major sort of problem in your life. It could just be that, right, I'm a bit lost as to which direction I want to take in life. You know, it might be a mum whose children have gone off to school and she's got that empty nest feeling and doesn't know, well, I've only ever been a mum. What am I supposed to do now? Or it may be someone who's been made redundant from a job and they think, well, that's all I've done. Where do I go from here? You know, there's several sort of scenarios that really I can help find that direction, and it's supporting the client too. You know, as a coach, I'm not dictating where they're going. It's just supporting them on where they want to get to.
And I think it's true what you say about giving them choices first.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bit overwhelming when you feel that you have so many ways that you could go. You get lost and stuck in the idea of, well, I don't know where to go, so I'll just stay where I am.
Yes.
And the identity of being a certain way or in a certain job keeps you kind of trudging on with the hope, the vain hope that it's going to get better sometimes.
That's
and
right.
Let's be sure.
I'm sorry.
No. It's always, I was just going to say, it's also true that there are a lot of people who don't realize they need help. It's not that they're stubborn, they just don't understand until it becomes the tsunami.
Yes. And I've lost my train of thought now, but or the people are just stuck. They've, you know, a huge part of it is about our identity, and we have these limiting beliefs that we pick up all through our lives. You know, you could, well, we call it like a script a day, you know, a huge pile of paper, and the audio version of that is that negative voice in your head, and it tells you, you know, well, you've only ever done that, you'll never be good at anything else, you can't do that, you know, and you get stuck in your little environment and a comfort zone, and you sort of, oh, well, it's not perfect or it's not brilliant, but at least I know what to expect if I stay here. But that's not a particularly healthy sort of attitude. You know, we're here to grow and enjoy life.
Yeah, it's amazing that the word is very overused, but it's amazing how we take on a journey possibly wearing the wrong shoes.
Yeah.
And they start to nip and blister your feet, and you still keep going. You still keep going just because it's a case of, oh, well, I'll get used to it. It'll be better. At one point, they will be okay. Actually, they become a size too small. Do you think that's the kind of?
Yes, that's a very good analogy, actually. Yeah.
So when your people have come to you and they've decided that they want to be a chooser, they want to have choice in life, and they want to understand that they can have choice, how do they get in touch with you?
Right. Well, I'm on Facebook and First Choice Feelings. I have a website, which is www.firstchoicefeelings.co.uk. And yeah, I am on Instagram as well. I don't do an awful lot on Instagram, but you can always get me there. And my email is p.gamlin@firstchoicefeelings.co.uk. So yeah, there's I can also do the information is on my website to get in touch anyway. But yes, I also do face-to-face if you're local.
So you're actually doing face-to-face as well?
Yes, I can now.
Yes, it's great, isn't it? It's almost like taking the lid off the sweetie jar and saying dive right in.
It is a bit.
Yeah. So when they've come and they're doing their things, what is it that you would like them to know that they're going to have to do, that they're going to have to choose along with the idea of what they would like to have happen?
Right. Well, the thing is, how is it I'll put it? It's your perspective. You have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to challenge who you think you are. And there's a commitment to this change. I offer a 30-minute free consultation so we can have a chat and see if we can work together, if we are suitable, because not everybody gels with each other. And then I usually recommend a block of 4 to 6 weeks. And if they want a particular support to get to a particular goal, then we can discuss more weeks as necessary. But yeah, it needs commitment and work from the client as well.
I think it's very important that people realize that we don't really just sit and wave a magic wand and it all happens just by itself.
No, it doesn't.
Because that would be a case of us living your life for you.
Yeah.
And what you say is true. People don't always gel. It is horses for courses.
Yes.
And you know, just because someone has a therapy and it doesn't work for them doesn't mean to say that that therapy in essence will not work for them. It just means perhaps that they weren't connected to the therapist at the time. There was something that perhaps wasn't quite right for them.
That's
just a personality thing.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if you've, oh gosh, I've forgotten the chappie's name, but there's the 5 languages of love.
Oh yes, I've forgotten his name too now. I sent the book to someone.
Yeah, I think every household should have it. But it's, you know, there's 3 versions of the truth: his, hers, and what actually happened. Well, there's the same thing with love. There's actually 5 different versions depending on what type of personality or what language of love that you speak.
And like anything, therapy is a relationship.
It is, yes. So if, you know, if it's not a connection and you feel comfortable, then, you know, maybe I can signpost you to someone else who can help you. So, you know, it's a team effort. We can all help each other. There's room for everyone.
And it's true that there's a progression as well on occasions, because once you've had one therapy and it starts to work, it may well be that there's other choices involved. And that's, I think, where your idea comes in, of understanding the life coaching and the mindset, because the mindset is king in this.
Absolutely, yes. And it is almost like you're looking through different pairs of glasses. You know, again, you could be stood in the same room, but you'll see different things to the person stood next to you.
Yeah, it does.
And it's the same with the mindset.
It was interesting. I was reading on the famous Instagram today something to do with how we shouldn't be ashamed of speaking up when we were less informed.
Okay.
And about saying things or doing things when we were less informed And
Right.
I think that that's true. And we very much are always less informed because we're very much always seeking for answers for different things. And until we get the mindset where we are going to be informing and being informed of different things, we're always going to be focusing our attention one way.
Yeah. And of course, what we focus on grows. So,
Mm.
you know, we can get very stuck again in our mindsets. And if, you know, you have that fixed mindset, it can be very restricting.
Mm. And it possibly wasn't your choice of mindset in the first place.
No, exactly. You know, you inherit it from family, your environment, religion, ethnicity, gender, even. You know, you're treated differently. You have different rules that you're expected to live by to survive in that community.
And it may well be that if it wasn't for people who have this maverick gene in them, this kind of curiosity that goes further than just thinking about it, we would still be in the dark ages to a certain extent.
Exactly, we'd still be in the caves.
quite possibly with the mindset of, oh, it's nasty out there. Maybe we wouldn't be here at all.
Yeah,
because, you know, we've evolved these brains to understand what our back brain is doing, that back burner, the limbic system, that actually tells us danger, danger, warning, warning, and we choose to fear things. But do we?
Well, who's that negative voice in your head? Is it from back then when it was trying to save us from the saber-toothed tiger? You know, you don't see many of them in Sainsbury's these days.
Well, yeah, I think that's possibly true. I think also, though, that the mask of the saber-toothed tiger has changed a little bit, and it's worn by different negative aspects now. And that's like stress too, isn't it? Because stress is a natural thing. It's there to keep us safe. Yes. And now we don't have saber-toothed tigers and nasty things running about the forest trying to kill us. We tend to think of different ways to be stressed.
Yes, yes. And it's the workload, the relationships, you know, life's little crisis. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are the things that stress us out. And, you know, if we change our mindset and change our perspective, then we can look at things and work through things and achieve better outcomes.
And that's where you were talking about the work comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't do that work for our clients, can we?
No, no. That's where they need to. Yeah, and it's like a muscle, you know. Choosing is like a muscle. You don't go to the gym and expect to get a six-pack. You have to work at it. And so choosing is like that muscle. The more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah. And also you get that first flush of like the first love romance thing, where suddenly, oh yes, it's working and I've changed and it's wonderful and it's great. But this is where we can fall into the gap, the abyss of, oh my goodness, something's happened, and it all goes a little bit weary. And that's when people tend to say, oh, that didn't work for me then.
Yes.
But that's when they should come back and say to us, isn't it? And to you particularly, when they're choosing you.
Yeah, well, that's it. You know, it's an ongoing thing, isn't it? Life does throw us these curveballs now and again, and we all need a best friend, someone to hold our hand and just give us that guidance and support to get through it.
And we also need someone who's a little bit less involved than a best friend. Yes. Someone who is actually there, who can say, well, no, that's not what
Yeah,
you could be doing. You could be doing this, and you
that's
could be
right.
getting more out of this than doing the same thing you would before,
Yeah, you
and
have to be open to be challenged about the way you think.
well, I think we've been getting challenged quite a lot in the last 18 months or so.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. I heard someone speaking about that the other day there, and talking about something that happens in the military, and how they get training for when they get captured by the baddies,
Okay.
and the kind of things that will happen to them. And this was a management of choices. And the reason that I'm talking about it is because with first choices
Yes.
and feelings, it kind of slotted straight in there. And it was a case of taking with one hand and giving away with the other,
Right.
And it's more or less a case of when you become unsure and you are in a stage and arena of being unsure, because someone is saying one thing who is an authority figure, and then they come back and say, no, 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 we're going to do this instead. It's like, I called it at one point the lockdown hokey cokey.
Okay, yeah.
Because you were in and out, like a fiddler's elbow to a certain extent. But actually, we're seeing now lots of people coming out of that with that kind of idea that they can't make a choice because whatever choice they make is going to be the wrong one.
Yeah.
They can't make a decision because it's all going to change. And changes have become very finite at the moment. They've become very, well, we know we can't make a plan because this is going to change. And that psychologically and emotionally becomes a problem.
Yes. No, it has been very difficult. It seems that there's no certainty about anything.
The only certainty is that you're going to get, that at one point you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to step left or right or forwards or backwards. You can't just stay still. So this is when they come to someone like you.
Yeah. And we can discuss the choices. We can work through the fors and against and what are the consequences, and where they really want to be and who they want to be at the end of it.
Yeah, this is the other thing, isn't it? Because our identities have been questioned in the last 18 months, particularly our sense of purpose, our sense of idea of who we are and what we're doing here.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of people go to the what's the point end of the scale to a certain extent. And I think that's where people like you are going to be very, very involved, because people need choices. They need to be able to understand that there is a different way, a different choice to make. So when it comes down to it, you're not going to hold their hand. You're not going to do it for them. You're not going to, but you will support.
Yes.
You will advise, and you will show a different way of being and doing things.
Yeah, yeah. It's having that extra pair of eyes, that different perspective, and hopefully you can choose the life that you deserve.
Yeah. But it's understanding also that little negative voice in there is that, deserving is a positive thing.
Yes. Because a lot of people don't feel they deserve, do they?
No, there's a whole thing out there about choosing to believe you're unworthy, which I think is a strange first choice to make.
Yes.
But it's actually something that is learned.
Yes. It's one of those limiting beliefs that, you've inherited, that someone might have mentioned, in your life, and you've held on to that as the identity that you live by, the value that you live by.
And this is it. It's a case of whose values are you living by, whose beliefs are you living by, and how are they serving you? And
That's
how are
it.
you choosing to stay in something that doesn't serve you?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's amazing how we've been brought around from different careers and ways of living in life to doing what we do now. And yours was through a sore back,
Yes.
bad back, and illness and different other traumas. However, it does give you, I think it gives you a perspective on things that are going to be different to other therapists who do a similar thing to what you do. In that
Yeah.
your experiences of caring for people.
Yes, I mean, my previous careers, I worked in early years education. I ran my own preschool facility. I also have worked in hospitality. I've worked in retail for a short time. And yeah, I've always worked with people. And so I've you know, got a wealth of experience, and let alone my own personal experience. So, you know, I feel like I've got a lot to bring to the table, shall we say.
That was the phrase that was running through my head.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very advantageous for people to understand that you are here.
Yeah.
They can approach you quite happily for a chat.
Absolutely.
And there's not a lot that you've not heard before.
Oh no. Yes, there's been quite a few things. Not much makes me blush these days.
Yeah, I think yeah, I get that entirely. It's one of those things that you when you do this kind of work, your blushes are never spared. But at the same time, that's a good thing, because people have to understand that they can tell you things.
Absolutely, yes,
And
it's confidential, you know.
and you're not going to be
Totally.
shocked.
And I'm not going to be shocked. No, no.
Although that can be tempting fate sometimes.
Yes, that's not a challenge.
No, that's not a challenge. That's not, don't come up with something just in case.
Yeah.
Just because. But yeah, it's like we quite possibly could be said to not choose what we do. It was not foisted upon us, but became the only route to go down, the only path that was there. It's kind of a turn left here now because the other way is dead end.
Yeah.
And that's a choice that people tend to look at, but go up the cul-de-sac anyway.
Yeah.
If you had one thing to say to someone who was consistently, like Einstein said, the definition of madness is doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result.
Absolutely, yes, yes.
And some people keep going and going and going because they can't see, they can't perceive of anything different.
Yeah.
It just doesn't enter their minds. Their conscious awareness is not there for that.
No, that's
so
true.
if you could say something to someone who was just starting to lift their head, to look beyond the front of their feet, and to let them understand that you're there for that express purpose, to help them to find a new direction, what would you say?
That there is hope. You know, every life is important, that you can be whoever you want to be. If you're prepared to put in the work, you can do whatever you choose. And I'm quite happy to help support you to get there. You know, there are lots of opportunities, and oh, I can't think of the words, but you know, life. I was the blessing of Liz Ivory. She's got a lovely quote, as in, "We're here for a good time, not a long time." So make the most of it.
I have heard that before, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'd really like to be here a long time as well as have a good time. just because I'm a little bit, you know, contrary that way.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, thank you, Pauline, for this conversation. And we can get in touch with Pauline, as she said, website and Instagram and Facebook. And we'll put the details into the comments at the bottom of the comment box, wherever that is in YouTube. Yeah, I've just a brain derailment there. Yeah, just a little bit of a brain freeze. I went, what do I say? What is the bottom of the YouTube thing? So yeah, tangent time. So I think it's time we wrapped up.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Leslie. It's been lovely chatting.
Thank you so much for giving me your time.